Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Real Talks. I'm your host, Sue Quackenbush, a Chief People Officer at Dynatrace, and I am very excited to have Thorsten Roth, who is our product lead within our technology organization.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on your promotion to product lead. But I'd love to understand from someone who's not in the engineering organization, I'd love to understand what is the role of a product manager and how has it evolved at Dynatrace?
So basically, the role of a product manager is to make sure whatever our customer require from a value perspective, we can offer within our Dynatrace platform. So I'm not saying that our customers are telling us what we need to do within our product. It's more to understand their pain points, also their use cases, and making sure that they are somehow then landing within the product. This also means, of course, it's a lot of talking to different stakeholders, external stakeholders, but also internally, because as we also follow this kind of mantra to say we are always our first customer, so customer zero, so to say. And of course, then also the close collaboration within the R&D organization. So this is true with engineering, this is true with architects, other product management peers. And of course, combining all those things at the end should result in a great product.
And when you think about our product management and approach to product management and what you've seen external to Dynatrace, how is it different?
Yeah, it's different a little bit that many of the companies out there, product management, are usually having not a technical background. So at least this was true a couple of years ago at Dynatrace. This changed a little bit as we also have now different roles. So now we have product management for go-to-market. Now we have product management for product experience. We have product management for other areas to focus like growth, for instance. And of course, this is then also changing the background also from an educational perspective or also from a career perspective. But nevertheless, they're part of the product management group. And now they can also be very dedicated on an area, which is also super helpful because back then the product manager was seen like, I would call it as a Swiss Army knife, which is no longer true because, yeah, it would be too overwhelming. And now having this dedicated focus is clearly really helpful.
And when you think about innovation, how do product managers contribute to maintaining our innovative edge?
So I believe as a product manager, you have a main role or you are a main contributor to innovation because while we are talking to so many different customers in all the different verticals, so this is true for huge banks, financial institutes, then insurance companies, well-known retailers, automotive space, and so on. So basically, we need to cover all of them, so to say, and they're all having the same problems. So they have software which seems to be not working perfectly, right? So that's the reason why we're here. That's also one of the purpose we want to drive to help them, to support them. And of course, then as a product manager, you always hear things which are not working in terms of, hey, we are having a problem here. How Dynatrace as a platform can support this. And with taking all this kind of feedback, then we always sit back in a more, let's say, strategic format and also consider, okay, what does this mean? How can we cope certain use cases or huge pain points our customers see also within our platform? And back then, I was working as the first product manager for our Grail data lakehouse, and this was a huge project back then. And also back then, the need was how can we ensure that our customers can analyze all the rich data we are providing with our platform. And then a couple of years later, to be honest, because as I said, huge project, then Grail, the data lakehouse was born and we developed this.
That's great. Now I'm going to switch subjects just a little bit. You know, when we think about Dynatrace and the continued growth, and we're doing a lot of recruiting and bringing talent into the organization, what should a product manager know when applying to Dynatrace?
I believe as a product manager or to be a product manager at Dynatrace, you need to understand that you need to be a very collaborative person. So communication shouldn't be a problem at all. Of course, you also, depending on the area, should have a certain understanding in your focus area. So for the more product-related ones, of course, a technical background is super helpful because usually you talk on the same level with engineers and you need to understand also the customer voice. So because then you also have an audience like engineers, architects, and so on. When you are in the growth area, of course, then maybe your background is a little bit a different one. But I would say as a product manager, you should also be very open. So what I mean with open is usually you're always the person, if something is going on, you are reacting first, which means you want to understand what's going on, why, for instance, something is not working, or why a customer is asking for support. Then usually a product manager is the person to jump in directly and support as much he or she can. And of course, and then doing the right things there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And when you think about listening to the pain points of our customers, does sometimes that feel like you're always putting out fires, or is this, someone who has to be really excited for a challenge because you're facing challenges pretty much every day?
Indeed, that's true. Sometimes we have this kind of challenges also with customers. But on the other side, I believe that's also one of the great things working with our customers, because as soon we have a workaround or we can support with our platform them properly, and we know they are currently in a hot season, so holiday season now is coming, right, or is already here, and they then also send you a text message or an email later and say, hey, this was really helping, this was super important to make sure that we can have a good holiday season and so on. So I believe that, at least for me, always very rewarding, which means everything what we did before, of course, it can be a challenge and it is sometimes a challenge, but at the end, it's about the customer. And if they're happy and they are seeing the value with the platform, that's the maximum of reward we can get as a product manager.
You've been with the organization, really started in 2013. So you've been with the organization for a long time. You also stepped out of the organization and then came back. And I would just love to get your thoughts on your journey.
Yeah, sure. I started at Dynatrace when Dynatrace was still, let's call it a small company based out of Linz, as you know. And I started basically there as a technical product manager. And there was also a certain point in time where I also considered to leave the company. And basically, the main reason for that was I got an exciting opportunity to become a CTO for a scale up here based in Linz or close to Linz. And I was also approaching my 40s. And as you can imagine, you also start thinking, oh, maybe this would be the last opportunity to face a challenge like this. And therefore, I took the decision and said, okay, maybe this is one step in the next career path. And that was the reason why I took this kind of decision.
That sounds very logical, and I totally can understand it. So, what made the decision to come back to Dynatrace?
So yeah, first of all, I have to say it was unbelievable, the return at Dynatrace, because this warm welcome I received back then from all the different colleagues, and I grew with them from a professional perspective, but also many of them became friends. So I was always very well aware of what's going on at Dynatrace and also where the company is still moving. And I was also then feeling again, hey, I want to go with Dynatrace again.
And when you think about Dynatrace in the future, right? What are you excited about most?
So, of course, I'm still excited most to see the company growing again. So, because I believe we are doing pretty well from a platform perspective. And I'm also very excited to see our Linz headquarters in Austria to be built, because currently we have a construction site here. So on both sides, we're extending our building, and this will be also super exciting for us.
So I thank you for sharing your experience with Dynatrace and the ability to have connections globally and be able to have relationships and spend time with Dynatracers all over the globe.
Thanks, Sue. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's podcast. If you'd like to follow us, please do so on Apple and Spotify.